Hey everybody, what up? Scuff D here. And tonight, just gonna share some replays. Let's bring up the camera a little bit here. Resize that. Thank you. Get a little bit bigger so I can see my face. Wanted to go over some replays that I've got here. Been just kind of playing around with some stuff. Some Custodes. And when I say some, I mean specifically one. Now I know I've got card by cards to do for the Custodes. I've got card by cards to do for the Thousand Suns. I have not done them yet. I don't think, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I should for the Thousand Suns just yet. I think they are going to be seeing some adjustments. Not sure how or what, but popular opinion and outcry is generally that something is going to change, and I really don't want to do a card by card based off of old information. And the Custodes still need a little bit more time to gestate before I really give you a card by card analysis. However, I have been playing around with the Nassau deck, and I've been having some really good fun with it. He plays really fun. So, Nassau. Now, what you'll note here, there are a bit of Custodes cards, and then a bit of neutral cards as well. And primarily, he plays. It's hard to explain it. And I think there's a couple other cards I could throw in here. Firewalkers I might throw in instead of some of these. Instead of the Eriton squad. Eriton squad's okay. The only legendary I have that is a Custodes legendary is the Paragon Spear, which makes him notches better than he would be normally. His ability is amazing, though. So he's got First Strike, which is great. But then for 2 damage, he can also deal 2 damage to an enemy, similar to your Loken. And if it dies, he gains precognition. Precognition means that your enemy cannot attack you with troops. They can hit you with tactics, but they can't attack you with troops. He's like a dodgier version of Korax and Kerr's Night Haunter from the get-go, further backed by Custodes cards. And I don't have all the Custodes cards. I am missing quite a few. I mean, if I'm going into the collection here, besides missing Valdor, I'm missing several epics. I'm missing all the legendaries except for Paragon Spear. That's the only legendary I have. So my collection is pretty limited. But for Grins, I played him today, and I started getting my challenge games in here, so my log is kind of... and these were challenge games. I was just trying to put Relentless Troops in. But so they're clogging the area here, but this was all Nassau. And then I pinned some videos that I unpinned previously here, and then as well as the Demon Prince Angron, the Crucible challenge, if you will. If you're on Discord, if you're not on Discord, get on Discord and find out what the Crucible's about, because it's nasty, it's gnarly, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna beat you, Creed. I'm gonna beat you, Iron Duke. I'm gonna beat you, Dornazami. Whoever's doing it, Nimitor, is going to make it happen. I just need the time to nail you down. It's going to happen. Anyways, I shared some videos, I think, with LCFR, so he might put those up there to kind of highlight what the Crucible Challenge is all about. I'll share the Falk video down the road, but this playlist was a bunch of Nassau. I think I played about 15 plus, 16 plus Nassau games. 2 defeats here are showing, 3 defeats total, and I think that's really it. So I think I'm like 12 or 13 and 3. Some bots, some not bots, but play is really fun. So I want to show a couple games with it and kind of go over what the thought process is, because he's a Custode. So he plays a little bit differently. And then to go with it, this is a good one to replay. His ability is just a great ability, and it can really be a pinch play. So this was a good game. This was just a good game back and forth. Lucius has got the same I can't say the same, but in terms of your very short, potentially fast burst games, Emperor's Children, Lucius being able to ramp up his energy, this is a good example of how to duck out of that and how to capitalize and when to capitalize. So what I've done, and the deck's not perfect. The deck's missing a few cards, and I think the playstyle will evolve depending on the cards that I've got. But what I've done normally is I've tried to use his ability as often as possible in the early game. It makes games a little bit longer, but build my hand up, because once I start putting down any Custodes cards, which have Sentinel, then I'm not going to be getting to draw any more cards, and that will be unfortunate. And then I use the Custodes Tactics Blood Games is great for giving me Survivor 5 if I get a Custodes card, which is important. The Ephemeron is fantastic for jamming, then dealing damage, and which allows me to use either First Strike or my ability. Pulling the Spear, like I said, that just further amps it up. Now, Resilience, I toyed with that, and it's not bad if you get it out and you know when to play it. Especially if you're precogged when you play it, which is later in the game. Just that one extra health a turn. I wouldn't run 2 in a deck, but that one extra health a turn makes a huge difference. So here's a good example. Now, I could go with Hunting Eagles, but I'm not going to because I'm low on health. I want to duck out. I want to play the long game here. And that's what I'm going to do. I've got the potential to outlast him, because otherwise he could do, he could still, if he had a Pride of the Emperor, or he could drop that on me, bring me down to 2 health. I don't like it. But he doesn't have any options. He cannot attack me here. I don't know what he has in his hand, but he doesn't have any troops to deploy. I'm going to pump up my health, give myself a better window here. Unfortunately, I didn't draw a Custodes with that one, and I drew another Blood Games, which lets me double up on it, but that time I did get it. And there's been a couple games I've gotten Survivor 10 from 2 Blood Games in a game, and that's a special feeling. That's a special feeling. So you notice I haven't played any Custodes cards. I've got 4 in my hand now at this point. The jet bikes do not have Sentinel, and they're really good to kind of duck and weave with his ability as well. But he's got 3 cards in his hand. Oops. I gotta touch the screen every now and then. I like to wait for this to come out, the Paragon Spear, because now the options open up even more so. You don't benefit from it right away, but having that the rest of the game is huge. And I think I put down these guys pretty soon here. Having the 3/3 flank is nice. So he's at 14 health. So within my hand, with the spear, as well as the jet bikes, and now the goldstones, I've got 6 plus 6 is 12. I can do 12 damage. But I'm just going to use this to let me attack and use my ability twice, if I want to. I don't want to put myself in lethal range here, so I stay out of the range as much as possible. But now with that Sentinel out, if he doesn't have Perfection's Flight and he's just gone past it, I know that it's going to be mean. It's going to be gnarly. And I can afford at this point not to draw any cards. And I think he can sense that the end is coming at this point. So he ducks out there. He could have stunned my guy if he had another Eidichin squad or something like that, but he didn't. And we wrapped the game up here pretty quickly. But that was just a good example of, and the games with Lucius are pretty, they're pretty tight, but they've been fun. So here's another one here. Go into, I don't want to show a bot game. The game against Vincent Six, that was actually, he was doing a challenge, so I didn't realize that he ended up cutting that one short. The Alfarius game, it's not a bad game. Where's the other one? There was a good one here. There's a good one here. There's one here. This against this Horus. This was a fun one too. It's a good example to show how crazy proper use of precognition can be, and the long game. And I mean, in terms of I don't have Valdor, so I can't say, and I really haven't played with the other the Dreadnought, but with the normal deck playstyle of Nassau, I think Nassau's a mid-range build, I would say. He can go when he needs to go, and the rest of the time he's really bides his time. He's able to, along with the right Custodes support cards and the spear, he's able to chew up the field very quickly, keep terms balanced until he's ready to take control. I think, like I said, it's not perfect. I think there's probably some ways to improve the build. Having the first strike, having the ability to, hide if there's somebody that they've got on a table here, which I think we'll see in this game. It makes a huge difference. So here's a perfect example. I've got 3, but I'm not going to use my first strike. I'm just gonna deal the 3 damage initially, and then first strike him out of there. It doesn't cost me anything but 4 energy. I've still got all my cards in hand. That card is going to generate every time. It's a legendary card, so I don't want to hype it so much so, but it's a really good card. And if you get the chance to get it, it's in the shop. Even if you don't play Custodes, you're going to want that card. So, where do we go with Nassau? You go the distance. You go long distance. I'd say if you're familiar with playing Korax, if you're familiar with playing Kurz, Nassau is very much in the same style. The only difference is he relies on his cards, his support cards, in a different way, and that's fun. It's fun to play that, and I think especially right now because he's new, a lot of people aren't used to that. They don't know how to adapt to it, or they think you're just going to drop Custodes cards and they'll deal with that stuff as it comes up. But it's the combination that you use them in. Like normally a game like this without that first strike, I'd have to eat 6 from the Grolger squad or Grolger troop. At the very least, I'm eating 3, and that's it. I can either use my ability or I can use my first strike and not have to hit him with my face, and that's just so huge. I haven't played any Custodes troops in this game still. I try to draw them out as long as possible. One thing I also do here, because I have the blood games, normally I try to mulligan out any Custodes troops from my starting hand if possible, unless they're the cheapy guys, because I want them in my deck to draw with blood games. I also want the option to use, I've got an Imperial Emissary in there, and occasionally if I'm able to start out with the Emissary, it's nice to draw Custodes and get their cost reduced even cheaper. That's not a bad thing. And then here, now that I'm dropping a Custodes, this is not a troop that he can ignore, because between that troop's ability and the spear, I can make my guy, I can make my Nassau have attack 5, which is 10 damage that the warlord is going to have to take. So he's got to play cards. He got lucky here with his defensive satellites. That's okay. I ain't worried about that. This is a very close game, again, but I've got that relentless. I'm healing. I've got the spear. And I've got tricks. I've got tricks on Auric Mortalis is another great trick. It's really fun after somebody's played something like First Wave or Ornithop's Barge even with some troops, and just you can clear them out there. You can attack 3. If I have my other guy on table, I could play that with them and do 4 damage across the board. It's a nice reliable card, And high health troops, they're not entirely to be feared. Now at this point I've got more health than Horus. I've only attacked him a couple times, but it's the consistent pressure and the being able to shut off any of his offensive stuff. Now I know he could get me into 8 health and draw the Spirit of Vengeance. That's entirely possible, and I know he's got a big enough hand to do it. The question is, can I outlast that? Can I dodge that? Can my health stay outside that lethal range? And you saw the results here, so you know what happens, but it's kind of neat to see it done. Again, it's not a quick game. It's not an in-your-face game. Even though I've got Bloodthirst, I'm not hitting him for 6. I don't know if he's thinking something crazy is going to happen. He's probably got between the 8 and the 12. I'm just pressuring him to make him think twice about hitting me with his own face at this point. Because even if he drops his Bane Strike rounds or something else on his warlord, I should be, and here we go. Here's the Bane Strike. It gets ugly. Oof. So we take 5, we take 8, we could take 10. Yeah, he gets me within that lethal range for sure. But I've got 2 jet bikes and I've got goldstones. I've got, with the spear and the jet bikes and the goldstone, that's 9 damage. And I just need to show him what I've got. And he doesn't want any more. And he was talking a good game there. And he realized that he just didn't want any more. So, but, yeah, I could have done that. I could have hit the 2. At that point, you're that low in. I'd rather just go for the kill. Yeah. So that is Nassau. There's another one. I think this is a shorter one. This is against Alfarius. I played the same player with his Alfarius earlier on, one of the games that dropped off, and that was a loss. So this was kind of a redemption game for me, if I remember correctly. It was a good game. He just got an abandoned supplies harrowing and managed to do the work. So this time around, I'm trying a different strategy against Alfarius and the Alpha Legion as a general. I keep both of my Ares guards, and I want to keep my hand low this entire game, which could work out against me, given the fact that there's so many good cards that I don't want to not draw, or that I do want to draw. I want the spear, I want blood games, I want, my cards to deal damage. But if I can put pressure on the Alpha Legion, and if I can avoid their ability to, stun me and stun my guys, then I have a better chance at, I think, capitalizing before they can get to that point where they can really just shut things off. So that's what I'm going with in this game. And he's got that Eckertez, so he's got a little bit more health coming to him throughout this game here. Now, Mount Ferris and Jubac, if I'm able to protect them with either my frontline guys or other targets, they really become valuable troops, and they're valuable in their own right in a lot of decks. But if I've got them on table, even though I'm not drawing cards, if I've got a Sentinel on board, I'm generating cards. And if I've got Pharaohs on table, I'm generating cards at a reduced cost. And that just pays dividends. There's a couple games I've got. I'm not going to share them here. I might share them some other time. That have got, Jubac and Pharaohs and Sentinel on table, 2 cards plus the spear. I've got 3 options coming to my hand every turn. Nothing going out of my deck. I think I beat a Typhon that way. Because I had, let's see, he's going to try to mimic me, but no, I can jam and deal 2 damage. And then I'm going to pump myself up because I likes to. And I said, no, I don't like your mountain. I want my mountain. I'm keeping my hand low again, so I'm evading any sort of his stun potential. But what was I was going with that? Pharaohs, stunning, drawing cards. Gosh, I forget. You have to forgive me. Oh, yeah, and the Typhon. I beat the Typhon game in that because late game, I just threw out a couple Sentinel troops, which is all I had left, and you're not drawing cards. When you're not drawing cards, you don't have overkill. You don't have overdraw. So I'm taking no damage at the start of my turn when I'm drawing cards. And Typhon was. And that was kind of the end of the game. It was a long game. I mean, we went 30 plus cards each. And Pharaohs and Jubac gave me some options, and then throwing down Sentinel troops at the right time gave me some additional options. And they pay dividends. So now here at this point, we're going into 8 energy for him on his turn. If he plays Harrowing, he's only going to get 1 card off of me, 1 damage across the board, so it's not a good play for him. He does have the instrument, but that's why I kept my biggest guys far enough away. And now that we're getting lowered, I've got 1 card in hand. With Pharaohs, I do still want to get to some of those cards in my deck. We've got Sentinel, 21 cards up to his 15. So I do want to start getting those cards, and that's where I'm going to use it. Plus they've got 7 attack, and you know what? That's well worth it. That's well worth using the 7 attack. Put the pressure on. You can't bounce those guys with Melgator. You can get the other 2. The other 2 guys are Astartes, so that's possible. But you can't get rid of Pharaohs. It's just fun. It's fun being able to play cards that people don't expect, and it's fun being able to play cards that combo with the warlord, and the warlord is really doing the work. But he's not doing it in such an obnoxious way. I don't think so. I don't think his style is obnoxious. Man, that Mount Pharos, jeez. If it could move. And I mean, what do you do? What do you do at that point? You got some trouble coming. He's at this point he's reached desperation mode. He's stunned my warlord. He's going into, trying to copy troops here, and I think he might have forgotten that with Sentinel out, that my swooping hawk, those guys are not going to do anything to me. And he jammed them. He should have jammed the swooping hawk here, but I guess he was trying to avoid the Sentinel. In the end, that's enough between just the 3 guys on board. There's no options left, and you get a little bit lucky because you never know what the Mount Pharos is going to get. But I found it a lot easier just to play low hand against the Alpha Legion, because against them specifically, you can afford to put the pressure up. So that's it. Again, I don't think I'm done. I don't think I'm perfect with this guy. I'm having a lot of fun with him. I'm still playing Falk and the ladder. Those Nassau games have just been in practice, so practice versus ladder are 2 different worlds. But check it out, play with it. The Custodes are not, they're not the same. And a lot of people are, hesitant on them. You can't just play them straightforward. I think the best Custodes decks play with a lot of neutral cards. I think I could insert more neutral cards in here, and if I did, then I might have to consider dropping blood games. But they work. They work really well if you're willing to play that way. If you want to put your troops on the table and take advantage of Sentinel, then this is not the guy, nor is that the style, I think, that is best suited for you. So that's it for me. I just kind of wanted to go over that today. Like I said, I've got a couple deck card by cards to go into for the... Wait a minute. I knew it. I smelled an empty deck slot. I could sense it. You know who has to go there? The only other warlord I don't have a deck for. I don't have Magnus. Otherwise, we'd really be in trouble. I'm going to have to do a Shapura deck. Alright. I don't know what I'm going to do with him. He's going to go there next. Discard changes. I'll get back to you. I don't have Magnus and I don't have Valdor. We need more deck slots, guys. We need more deck slots. Always. Always. So card by cards for Thousand Suns. Card by cards for Adeptus Custodes. The Legio Custodes. Those guys are coming soon. And then also, I think what I'm going to do next time is do a little talk just in general as far as kind of identifying, because I mentioned aggro, I mentioned mid-range, I mentioned control. Those are common terms in any card game for the most part, except for maybe like poker or Go Fish or something. But, you know, I had a player in one of our lodge chats ask, like, what does that mean? And I guess sometimes you kind of forget, you know, I play a lot of card games. I'm used to those terms. And they mean a little bit different in each game, depending on what the card pool is. But I think what I'll try to do is kind of go over those terms in general, give you some ideas. So if you're not super familiar with card games, you can at least pick up on that and kind of increase your understanding to some degree in terms of deck construction, deck operation. Again, just to kind of tie it all together, I do think Nassau, that build specifically, is a mid-range deck. He can go aggro, he can respond. That's what a mid-range does. He definitely can control the board if he wishes, but when he's in the option, if I've got guys who can pump his attack and I've got the spear, I can just go 10 damage. If I've got 2 jet bikes and a goldstones, or 2 goldstones and a jet bike, I can just pump out 9 damage. I mean, those options are there as well. So that's what a mid-range is. It's very flexible. And there are certain decks within the game that are just straightforward, identifiable as what they are, and then there are some that are harder to pin down. So we'll take a look at those next time. We'll talk about that. So that's it. That's it for me. I think I've got one more segment here. I'm just trying to add segments at the end of things just to kind of make things interesting. Add some creative flair. So we'll do a creative flair segment here, and hopefully that'll entertain some folks, make it worth the time. And other than that, that's it for me, guys. Keep playing Legions, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
And now it's time for Jubac-a Believe. He's got the good stuff. We're joining in on the middle of a brutal and stupidly long game against Mortarion. Now, as you can see, we have a Sentinel in play and we're no longer drawing cards. But that's okay, because we've got Mount Pharos and Jubac. And now Jubac has given us a Jubac. Now you think you know where this story ends, but I'm going to tell you, this is just the beginning. You see, our friend Jubac brings his own friend Jubac, and it's always kind of curious to see what that other Jubac is going to bring. And well, I don't want to ruin anything, but this is where things begin to get incredibly stupid. Now, as I've already mentioned, Nassau's ability, allowing to dominate the board, that's great. And this is a bot game, so I guess we'll just play along and see how stupid we can get. That's what I'm thinking as I'm playing this. I mean, you can go ahead and stun that Sentinel piece, that's fine. I've got Mount Pharos, he's giving me some tasty treats. Who doesn't like tasty treats? So I go with it. I've already got Yu-Gi-Oh! I've got a Mortarian's Resolve. I like some golden cards. That's nice. Okay. We're going places. My Sentinel's out the board, so I guess I could play some more stuff. The wonderful thing about playing against bots is they don't touch your jukebox most of the time if there's more important things to hit. But sometimes it lets things get out of hand and I can't resist it. Okay, there we go. So So he still doesn't have his jukebox, so I guess I'll just take another. Sure, why not? Let's do this. So, it's getting to the point now where I don't even think I can keep that spear. I mean, I've just got too many cards. Pharos is kind of a liability. I better throw down some sentinels. Really? Really? We're gonna... Okay. Well, if he still doesn't have his jukebox at this point, I just want to see how far this can go. I mean, maybe I can just... What if I had a handful of jukebox? What if we just got really crazy with that crazy Starside guy? I mean, let's do it. Look at that pattern. It's like Jubac-Custodes, Jubac-Custodes. If Mount Pharos would just stop. Just really. And I'll be honest with you, at this point I was just kind of laughing terribly, and I don't know if you're finding this as funny as me, but at some point you have to find fun in these things. See, Jubac, he's got the good stuff, and sometimes the good stuff, it's just more Jubac. That would be 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! If my hand had not been full. It would be 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! In my hand. That's just ridiculous. And still, those Nurglings are going to do nothing. They're going to do nothing against me. Nassau is just that's a 5th Jubac I would have had. I would have had a 5 Jubac, and there his Jubac. So there would be no more Jubac-ing Jubac. I have Jubac to Jubac, who Jubac to Jubac, who... You know how the story ends? It ends badly. It ends badly for the bot player, and I think I played this game quite some time. And this has been Jubac-a Believe.
Alright, that wraps it up for me. If you liked what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe, add any comments below, and if you think the video might be useful or the series might be useful, feel free to share that with other players that you know as well. And we'll talk to you later.